In the week ending May 20th, sales volume, the number of units of beer sold declined 29.5% compared to the same period last year, while sales revenue was down 25.7% on the same. Look, this is not just a success. That we were reading a previous article for those who are just tuning in, talking about New York Mag saying why it's so successful. Success is an understatement. Success is like someone boycotts a product and then the sales drop in the single digits and the company apologizes a week later and then you move on. This is 30% 2 months later. This is brand ending apocalyptic. The fear is probably rippling through all these other companies. Target loses $11 billion in market value. And they explicitly said, we fear a Bud Light situation.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. You just touched on it a little bit earlier. A huge part of this is the fact that we've politicized issues that should not be political, right? Forcing this stuff onto kids shouldn't be a political issue. And your average person knows that. They're perturbed by it without being a member of a specific political party, even if the Republican Party is the only one which will stand against it. Your average person isn't a fan of it. And when it comes to Dylan Mulvaney, your average person is grossed out by Dylan Mulvaney. They don't want to, look, a man in a dress is a very off-putting thing, especially a man in a dress who really thinks he's a woman.
Chick-fil-A's doing it.
Yeah, well, Chick-fil-A is going to get themselves into some trouble there, but all I'll say is this isn't just ideologically charged. This is your average person, as you mentioned, building up an association of disgust with a brand.
I just want to say, I don't think a guy in a dress is gross. It's a guy that pretends to be a little girl. That's when I start to be like, wait.
I think that makes it way worse. I think that makes it way worse. Both are gross to me, but I think that makes it way worse.
It would be another thing if it was
like
in a play. And the guy they just cast an adult man as the little girl in the play. I can even suspend my disbelief for the sake of entertainment. But it's when it's like people are saying I'm really this way.
I would want to question the person that made that casting call.
Yeah.
Theater people are weird.
The Dylan Mulvaney thing is not just that it's a man, dressing up in a dress. It's not that it's a man pretending to be a little girl. It's that Dylan Mulvaney is intentionally insulting everyone.
Well, and Bud Light was asking you to lie to us. So let's remember, the whole purpose of the can was celebrating 365 days of being a woman.
But the can wasn't the issue.
No, I understand, but I'm saying the whole point of them doing a sponsorship with her was, in their words, celebrating him being a woman for 365 days.
Except what initially started this wasn't just the can. It was a video of Dylan Mulvaney grabbing a stack of Bud Lights, putting them down, and then the media claimed everyone's mad over a single can that was sent as a thank you, having nothing to do. They're lying. Dylan Mulvaney's Instagram post has a Bud Light contest hashtag. Dylan Mulvaney places a bunch of Bud Light, says thanks, cracks one open, talks about their program and how you can participate or whatever. It was clearly a direct Bud Light sponsorship having nothing to do with the can. The media tries twisting it and lying because they don't want regular people to know what's going on. But here's what I see. You name it, Dylan Mulvaney is the negative marketing element. You've got people who are like, wow, why is this guy dressing up like a little girl? You've got conservatives who don't like men in dresses, as Seamus described it. Ian, who is not conservative, but still be like, this acting like a little girl is extremely off-putting. I agree with both to a certain degree, but I think Dylan Mulvaney insults women, Dylan Mulvaney insults trans people, and Dylan Mulvaney insults liberals, and literally just insulting everyone in any way imaginable. And I think it's on purpose. There was a video that went viral of Dylan watching some movie and fake crying. And once again, they're laughing in the background. They're laughing at Dylan fake crying. And I don't think they're laughing because of the moment. I think they're genuinely, I think Dylan goes, hey guys, watch this. Did you see that? Wasn't that funny? And then they're all laughing. They're having a good time mocking people. And I think Dylan's exploiting the algorithm, and that's why TikTok is propping up these videos.
Dude, the video of Dylan on Twitter where he's like, I feel like now I'm attracted to women. I told my dad, he's like, well, good. I hope you get a girl pregnant. He's like, no, she's going to get me pregnant. And it's like, dude, he is joking. He's a goofball. Like the dude is pulling one over on the human race.
It's Borat.
Yeah.
It is Bruno. It is a person so again, we've mentioned this before, but this is what we've had I've had a couple trans social media personalities tell me the facial hair removal laser stuff is the easiest and cheapest thing to do, and Dylan has not done it.
But I think that Dylan is a very good example of Poe's law, right? You're all saying that you think it's an act because he's clearly being ridiculous, but we're at a point where reality is indistinguishable from satire.
What's Poe's law?
I see.
Tell me about
I
this.
see. Basically, that the idea that at some point it becomes incredibly difficult to tell the difference between somebody's sincere opinion and satire because of how ridiculous things have gotten.
Yeah, that is true. If you pretend to be something, you kind of become that thing.
Yeah, well, and also it's this idea, or the way it's usually used is to express that things are so out of control right now that you can't tell if somebody's serious when they say something, because even just a few years ago it would be a joke, or if someone else said it would be a joke. For example, I won't state it out loud, but we asked a certain left-wing commentator if performing certain acts,
Adult
on
activities.
the activities on the male body is gay, and he said not if it's on a woman, which it clearly. But it's
awesome.
Here's the
and
crazier
that's
thing.
Poe's law, because that's like a joke,
But
right?
beyond that, he said, I have no problem. It's Lance from The Surf. He was on the show. He said that if a man engages in relations with a masculine, ugly woman, he is gay.
Yeah.
And Ian was like, "That's not cool, man. You can't call someone gay because their girlfriend's ugly." Like for real. Like that's kind of messed up. Like their
Pretty
mentality
sure that's happened, but
So I think you're right. I think what happens is Poe's law is a good example of what happens on the internet. Dylan Mulvaney goes in hiking heels, wearing high heels and dancing in the forest and then falling down because of a bug. I think that's fake, but kids don't know it's fake. And so they start imitating these behaviors. You then end up with people like Lance, who I think he's 40 something years old, genuinely believing that is the left, and then going on a public show to millions of people and saying, if you date an ugly woman, you're gay. And if you date a small, petite, effeminate man, you are not gay. It's like, okay, wait, what, dude?
I hear you, but I think the difference is, so part of Poe's law is that it's indistinguishable. I think that is the left.
This means all bears will be surprised to learn that their twink boyfriends make them straight.
I mean, I get, well, because he was also saying we can't have hot or not, right? So it was all
he
very
contradicted
confused.
himself several times.
Yeah, but I guess my overarching point is things have gone so off the rail, and the left's morality surrounding human sexuality and quote unquote gender, which is a term I hate, is so insane that it might seem like someone is joking. It might seem too ridiculous to believe, but that doesn't mean it's not real.
Well, do you think satire and parody are like satanic?
No, I don't think so, because I think they can be used to highlight truth. But I think that what happens is the world can become so insane that something which in any other era would be a harmless joke is now something taken seriously. So here's a great example. There was a bit in Monty Python's Meaning of Life where a child is born and they give it to the mother, and the mother says, is it a boy or a girl? And the doctor says, well, it's a bit early to be assigning roles to it, don't you think? And I remember seeing that 10 years ago and going, oh my gosh, they made this joke decades ago, and this is actually about to be a massive social justice issue, quote unquote, and it is now. So I don't think that it was evil for Monty Python to make that joke. I think the direction that our country has gone in is evil.
You know what I was thinking earlier today? Gen Z and millennials are literally idiocracy. Now, idiocracy was a lot of gag humor and stuff, but I was we did this video segment last week. Isabel Brown had a clip where this comedian's mocking Gen Z for being unable to write in cursive, unable to use calculators or find directions and use paper maps, and this woman,
work
or work. No, but seriously, they don't want to work. Polls show they don't want to do work.
I'm aware.
And she said that if Gen Z does take over, it'll be really easy to take it back. And then Isabel Brown makes the point, like, you were supposed to teach us. I was thinking about that, and I'm like, it's not just Gen Z. Millennials, too, are completely incapable. Seamus and I were talking about one of the guests we had in this show, a lefty. And he said something like, if you want to cover healthcare, just deficit spend, print the money to pay the bills. And I said, okay, let's start from the beginning. Where does food come from? And his response was
At the grocery store.
And we're like,
this was an adult
human male, and is 30s or something? And we're like, no, food doesn't come from the grocery store. It goes, oh my, like, okay, first you have a farm. They make the food. Then it gets sent to maybe a regional processing plant where that particular food item is processed. Then it has to get shipped to a bottling plant. Then it gets shipped to a regional warehouse where it's then sent, depending on the product you have. Sometimes fruits are directly handled right there on the farm, sent to a regional distribution, and then right to the supermarkets. If it's so I knew somebody who did honey. One company would go and collect all the honey from 50 small farms, bottle it at their plant, and then distribute it. So there's 3 steps. But no, not the grocery store. Thinking about that, I realized we're in idiocracy.
Yeah,
we're literally at the point where you walk up to the guy and say, well, where's the food? Grocery store don't have any. And you're like, no, food comes from farms. What? It comes from the grocery store. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. By the way, I don't want to mention who it was, and the conversation was off air, but it wasn't Lance. Because we
Yeah,
just
right,
mentioned
it was
not
not.
Lance.
I want to know. Tell me off air.
Yeah, but
That's hilarious.
I've had numerous conversations with people where I've talked about this. I had one conversation during the lockdowns where I tried explaining. I was tweeting to somebody, and I said they were talking about food in the grocery store and giving people money, and they were like, the government should just start giving people more money to cover their bills while we're locked down. And I said, right, but money represents labor. It's debt,
Exactly.
right? So if you're creating the means to acquire without creating the means themselves, like you're going to create this inverse reaction. He's like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. And I'm like, let's start from the beginning. Where does milk come from? And you know what he said? The grocery store.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is what I try
Supermarket.
to So this is one way I try to explain this to people. The economy is like a giant pizza. And the amount of currency you have is the amount of slices in that pizza. If the pizza doesn't get any bigger, all cutting more slices into it does is diminishes each slice. Now, you could be in a situation where, I don't know, you don't feel that the pie, given its size, is being distributed adequately, so we have to make more slices. You can make that argument. But to say, well, the pie isn't growing, let's slice it up more is idiotic.
Yeah, but then you get two slices instead of one chance.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's lit.
But that's actually the reasoning when they say just print more money. You're just cutting more slices into a pizza that's either staying the same size or even shrinking.
And then I thought to myself, I was like, we're in idiocracy. It's like, we're here. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.